Hey guys, it's your boy Shalon from the Bin Zone from Ichigami, and today we're talking about who is the strongest Espada in Bleach. Now, over the past few years, ever since we found out the ranking of the Espada and since the end of Bleach, we've been having these online discussions on which of the Espada is the strongest, which of the Espada is essentially the Primera, because we know the ranks of the Espada go from 1 through 10, or if you want to believe Yami, they go from 0 to 9. But of those Espada, we can count out number 5, 6, 7, 8 as non-factors in this battle, because we're going to discuss between 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 of those 5 Espada, which of those are the strongest ones. And we're going to start off with Yami. Yami was first introduced to us as the number 10 Espada, but as the series went on, he really didn't do much but get clowned by Ulquiorra as well as not do shit at all. So as the series progressed and Yami as the character progressed, we came to find out that later on Yami is known as the number 0 Espada because he has the most Reiatsu out of all of the Espada. The problem being with Yami is he needs to rest and build up his food and energy and Reiatsu in order to become the 0 Espada. But I have a big problem with Yami because to me, Yami is a scrub when it comes to the top Espada because Yami was dispatched of rather easily. I mean, what did Yami do really? Nothing, became the 0 Espada, and then he lost to Kenpachi as well as Byakuya, and they weren't even trying to fight him. Yo, let that register for a second. Byakuya and Kenpachi are debating with each other and they're about to fight each other. Yami comes up and we're just revealed he is the number 0 Espada. So we're hyped as shit. Imagine number 0. Oh shit, that's Yami. And then he comes up and they're like, yo, fuck off, we're busy here. And Yami tries to interrupt them and they do away with Yami. Yami's a scrub. He doesn't even belong in here. He might have the most physically strongest or he might have the most Reiatsu, which I doubt both of those cases because the ones above Yami or the number 1, 2, and 3 Espada have shown stuff Yami hasn't even come close to showing. So we can X Yami straight up from the list as the scrubbiest Espada and he's not even part of it. I mean, is Yami even an Ajucha or is he what we call a Gillian, the big stupid Menos Grandes? That we're not even sure of, and that's another thing I actually do want to look into when we talk about the Espada, and that is, of the Espada, which one of them are actually Vassal Lords? Because that's something we haven't really discussed, and I'm going to save that for another video, because I have a theory that not a single one of them are actually Vassal Lords, but we're saving that for another theory. And let's jump into the next Espada, and that would be Hallibel. Hallibel is the number 3 Espada, and Hallibel herself isn't bad as a character per se. Hallibel, we've seen her take nothing but L's if you think about it. And when I mean by take nothing but L's, I mean literally the character of Hallibel didn't do much in the series, and I can't put her above the next 3, even though she's number 3, right? I'm not putting her above the number 4 Espada. I'm not putting her above Ulquiorra because let's look at the track record of Hallibel. When we're first introduced to Hallibel, we're like, okay, number 3 Espada, she gets there. And Hallibel has about a total of 3 fights throughout the series, and those fights were against Hitsugaya Toshiro. She had a fight against excuse me, those fights were against Hitsugaya. She had a fight off panel against the Quincy, and we have a flashback of her fighting but getting captured by Barragan. So from far, all we've seen her is take L's in the series, and the biggest thing is the fact that she fought Hitsugaya Toshiro. Now, Hitsugaya is by no means a slouch, but in the grand scheme of the captains of Bleach, Hitsugaya isn't in the top tier in his child form. Maybe in his final form towards the last arc of Bleach, when we find out the true potential of his Bankai, maybe then he is of that level. But the beginning of Bleach and towards the Wecto Mundo arc, Hitsugaya really isn't there yet. However, she can't beat him. Hitsugaya could not beat Lupi. If you guys remember who Lupi is, I might have to jog your memory. Lupi is the replacement number 6 Espada total scrub. He replaced Grimjaw for like a day, then Grimjaw killed him with one Zero Blast. So Luffy couldn't even take one Zero, and Luffy pretty much did away with Hitsugaya and a bunch of other Shinigamis. It wasn't until their limits were lifted and Hitsugaya had a lot of prep time he was able to beat Luffy, and that just doesn't count as a victory. So when it comes to Hallibel, I'm not going to put her any higher because while Hitsugaya again is no slouch, she was unable to defeat him, and everyone above her would have done away with Hitsugaya as though he was nothing, if we're being serious here. Like these next few characters would have done away with him. Now, this is where things get a little tricky, and this is where things get a little controversial, because I'm gonna be straight up. The next Espada which I have as the third strongest is Barragan. Barragan, the number 2 Espada. The reason I have Barragan as number 3 as opposed to number 2 like his rank would suppose that he is because from what we've seen of Barragan, and not just what we've seen of Barragan, but what we've seen from Ulquiorra, number 4 Espada, it shows that Ulquiorra is above Barragan in the grand scheme of the power pushes. And that's because when we get to Barragan, Barragan was introduced to us as the king of Hectomundo. He is the king, the number 2 Espada, and only Stark should theoretically be above Barragan. But if we look at it, really look at it, is Barragan that guy? Should he be above Ulquiorra? What has Barragan done? Barragan fought Soi Fang, her lieutenant, what was his name, Omeda, and Hachi. Now granted, Barragan's ability is hacks. Let's not get it twisted. Let's not act like Barragan doesn't have one of the most hacks abilities in Bleach when it comes to his Respira, because Barragan is a bad man when it comes to that Respira. But in the grand scheme of power, is that something we can actually rely on? I mean, what I mean rely on, I don't mean does it work, because of course this shit's broken as shit. Like if you think of all the abilities in Bleach, Barragan's ability is by far one of the most broken. But it comes to ask, is it really more about Barragan's actual strength, his Reiatsu, his combat ability, or is it the fact that Barragan has a hacks ability? Because in his fight with Soi Fang, Barragan doesn't do much, and actually Omeda was able to block Barragan's attack and kind of counterattack them as the second strongest or the number 2. Sorry about that. As the second strongest or the number 2 Espada, Omeda should not be able to block your axe swing. I don't care if Barragan was in base. Omeda's Shikai blocked Barragan's axe swing. Remember when Ichigo first got his Bankai? When Ichigo first got his Bankai and he saved Rukia, right? And he took out those 3 lieutenants. He broke through Omeda's Shikai with his bare hands, and Omeda was able to block Barragan's swing. By that alone, I disqualify Barragan from the top 2. But I will say this, no other Espada can beat Barragan except for these next 2 characters, because Barragan's ability is one of the most broken abilities of all of Bleach. The Respira is something I highly respect, and that's because the Respira is broken as shit. The ability to age anything and decrepit them is amazing. But let's get on to number 2 Espada. Now this one is going to be one for the books. This one is important because this one is for all the Marvels. We're talking about these 2 are the creme de la creme of Aizens Army, the most powerful, and it's a toss-up. At this point, you know it's Ulquiorra or Stark. Which one of these 2 I rank as the second and the strongest Espada respectively? Because we know Ulquiorra has a second form, but does that matter in the grand scheme of what Stark can do? That's important. And we're moving on to number 2, and number 2 is Ulquiorra. Now, if we're being honest here, Ulquiorra is powerful. He has not just 1, but 2 transformations. As you can see in this image here, we have Ulquiorra in his base, and we have Ulquiorra transformation. And Ulquiorra's transformation is what gave him the rank of number 4. So this is what Aizen knows about Ulquiorra. Aizen knows this power, and Aizen knows this form, but he doesn't know that Ulquiorra has a second transformation, and that second transformation should be used to rank him higher than number 4. But Ulquiorra never let anybody know about his ability to transform into a different form, so Aizen ranked him number 4. But what we've seen from him in his battle against Ichigo is that while he does have that form, it might not be enough to put him on the level of Stark. And let's get to Ulquiorra's second form. because that's one I want to dissect just a little bit. Let's talk about this form. This is his trump card, his ace in the hole. This is his ability that no one knows, none of the other Espada knows, and that kind of pushes him above the number 3, easily puts him above Hallibel. When it comes to Barragan, I'm putting him above Barragan because Barragan, while he has the Respira, his ability to control and manipulate time, he didn't show the power enough to match the destructive capabilities of Ulquiorra. But when he gets in this form in his second transformation and he uses the Lanza, his most powerful attack, that's the biggest attack we've seen any of the Hollows use in the series. Any of the Espada, no one has used a more dangerous, a more potent attack than the Lanza. However, I still can't give him number 1. I really can't. As much as I like him as a character, I really can't give it to him because the character that I'm going to give number 1 is by far, he might be the only Vasto Lord in this series. Granted, I know people have theories that Ulquiorra is a Vasto Lord or Ichigo's hollow form is a Vasto Lord, but it's never been confirmed. And we know when Toshiro was giving the description of what a Vasto Lord is, they're humanoid in description, and one Vasto Lord equates to about 5 captains in fighting power. Ulquiorra does not equate to 5 captains. Ulquiorra equates to about 1 or 2 at the most, and that depends on which captains, because if we're talking about the upper echelon of captains, I don't think he's there. But when it comes to your average captains, like, could Ulquiorra beat Toshiro and Soifang at the same time? Probably. Could he beat Ukitake and Kyoko? Fuck, what's his name? Could he beat Ukitake and Shinsuke at the same time? Definitely not. Could he even fight or stand up to Old Man Yama? Definitely not. I know Old Man Yama is a stretch to put up there, so let's exclude that. But could Ulquiorra beat Kenpachi and Byakuya at the same time? I don't think so. But this next one, the number 1 Espada, the Primera, the strongest Espada in Aizens Army, can definitely take on multiple captains, and we've seen him do it. And that is Coyote Stark. Now, Stark is the strongest Espada, bar none. Granted, it's open for people to debate because Kubo never actually flat out showed us who is the strongest Espada or who is a Vasto Lord, because we never got a confirmation. But he fits all the boxes. He checks all the boxes of the strongest Espada. He was able to fight multiple captains at the same time. I'm talking about 4. He fought Rose, he fought Love, he fought Ukitake, and Shinsu at the same time. And Shinsu is no joke. He might be the second strongest captain, active captain, after Old Man Yamamoto by virtue of his own hacks abilities. And his hacks abilities are what gives him the prop, because in the fight against Stark, Stark wasn't trying. Think about it, guys. Stark was not trying the entire battle. Stark didn't want to fight, and he was fighting 4 captains, not just 4 average captains. Let's talk about Rose and Love. People might try to discredit those 2 characters as side, not main characters or whatever. Remember in the 2,000 years, remember in the 200 years swing back the pendulum flashback, they were captains. Not only were they captains, they also became Vizards. So they're above your average captain. And then we know that Ukitake is the left arm of the Soul King, or was it right arm? He's one of the arms of the Soul King, and we know Shunsui is the next captain commander with arguably one of the most broken Shikai and Bankai in the series. And Stark was casually sitting down like, do I have to fight you guys? And they're knocking him down, hitting him with everything he's got. And Stark isn't even phased necessarily by their attacks. Lynette, his fraction, or not even his fraction, Lynette is part of him. She forces them to merge and become his true form, and that's when he actually doesn't even get serious, but he's able to ragdoll a few of them at the same time. And that's what we have to talk about. Let's talk about Stark and Lynette, and to understand really just how powerful they are, or Stark is. Lynette and Stark are 2 halves of one being. Let's look at it this way. When Aizen came to Hueco Mundo and he was looking to create an army, the people who were there before, remember, number 0, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 Espada were Ajuchas. They weren't Aaron yet. The form of Aaron is when you go ahead and you remove your hollow mask and you take a humanoid form, and then you become what we call an Aaron. Aizen used the Hogyoku to turn them all into Aaron, so they weren't natural Aaron, unlike Stark, when Aizen found Stark, Stark was already an Aaron Carr. He was a naturally made Aaron Carr by the volition of his own power. So that alone puts him in a humanoid category. So that makes him maybe a Vosto Lord. And that's just not counting Lynette, or whatever her name is. Stark was so powerful. Stark had to split his... Every hollow that came around Stark died. Remember, Barragan was the king of Hueco Mundo. So he sat in the palace in front of all the hollows just chilling like this. And all the hollows could stand to be around him, eat, have a regular life. And even men, all types of hollows, Ajuchas, all of them were able to stay around Barragan. However, when it came to Stark, no hollow was able to stand next to Stark because he was just that powerful. They died. Like the energy he exuded killed hollows, and he was alone in the Hueco Mundo. And remember, Stark never fought a battle before he fought Shunsui. Let that sink in. The #1 Espada never fought a battle until he fought the second or third strongest captain in Bleach. Never fought a fight. And not only did he fight him, he fought him and 3 other captain classes. Remember, Stark never tried. Grimjaw fired Grand Race, every hollow except for Stark and Barragan, I believe, and maybe Hallibel fired a Grand Race Zero except for Stark. Stark never fired anything higher than a regular Zero, and he was taking on the upper echelon of Bleach captains. Stark is what you would call a Vosto Lord. He fits all the criteria. His Reiatsu alone was strong enough that he had to split himself into a whole other being. And if you guys finished the 1,000-year Blood War arc, only one other character in the entirety of Bleach was so powerful that their spirit energy or Reiatsu manifested into a second being that everyone could see, and that was Kenpachi. And we see how broken Kenpachi is. Kenpachi is the strongest Shinigami in Bleach, period, bar none. And the strongest hollow in Bleach is Stark, because he replicates the exact same thing that makes Kenpachi the strongest. Stark has that ability, and that's to split his soul. Anyway, guys, I'd love to hear your take on who is the strongest Espada. I've made a convincing take, and I've made a convincing case on who I believe is the strongest based on the evidence we've been given on the show. Now, it's up to you guys in the comment section below. Let me know who is the strongest Espada. I'd love to hear your feedback, guys. Let me know in the comment section below. And if you like the video, definitely the thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button if you guys haven't already. And until next time, peace.